Everybody talks about locking in 75 hard, 90-day transformations, and a 30-day reset. But here's my question. What happens on day 91? Most people unlock the door and walk right back into the life they prayed to escape. That's why I don't want to create a challenge. I want to create a lifestyle. Today, I want to introduce something I've been calling the Great Lock-In. This isn't about disappearing from the world or hustling until you're burnt out. This isn't about becoming cold. The Great Lock-In is about making one decision, becoming the greatest investment of your own life and never withdrawing from that investment again. Once this door closed, there's no unlocking it, because the version of yourself outside of that door already had her chance. She had the procrastination, the self-doubt, the toxic cycles, the excuses, the people-pleasing. Come on now, we just talked about that in the last video. She had enough time. The version walking through this new door understands something. We only get one life, one. So why would I spend it becoming everyone else's priority while remaining my own afterthought? Today is simply the introduction of the Great Lock-In, and over the next 3 videos, we're going to dive deeply into each section. There's 3 of them: self-love, business, and relationships. Today's goal is simply to understand a philosophy, because before you can change your habits, you have to change your identity. Let's get into part 1, self-love. Become your number 1 fan, ladies. Number 1 fan. And also, gentlemen, if y'all listening, I understand we're growing every single day. See, I think somewhere along the way, we were taught loving ourselves too much was arrogance. I remember when I was in high school and I used to walk down a hall and I always was told that, like, oh, you look like a model, you walk like a model. And I remember people always coming up to me saying, who does she think she is? And I used to literally think, like, wait, I'm just walking. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are you talking about? But no, I knew exactly who I was. I was that girl. And I feel like subconsciously hearing that all the time made me feel kind of guilty of thinking highly of myself. I don't know, drop in the comments below what you might have experienced, growing up that made you kind of feel like being self-centered was a bad thing. But we were taught this though. We were taught being obsessed with ourselves was narcissism, putting ourselves first was selfish. But can I challenge that? Maybe the healthiest thing you can become is selfish, not rude or inconsiderate, not self-centered in the sense that nobody else matters. I'm talking about becoming selfishly committed to your own evolution. Because if you won't prioritize your growth, why should anyone else? One of my favorite HQE quotes is this: you should be your number 1 fan, and everyone else should be in competition to become your number 1 fan, but they should never win. I'm gonna repeat that one more time. Y'all know, you might wanna write this down. You should be your number 1 fan, and everyone else should be in competition to becoming your number 1 fan, and they should never win. Nobody should love your dreams more than you. Nobody should believe in your future more than you. Nobody should be clapping for you louder than you. Because when life gets quiet, your voice is the only one you're guaranteed to hear. The Great Lock-In begins with becoming your own biggest supporter. So it's time. Let's rewire instead of reliving. We hear the word healing all the time, and healing is beautiful, but I also think it's another process. It's called revision. Your brain is incredibly powerful. Through neuroplasticity, your brain literally changes based on what you repeatedly think. Every affirmation, visualization, new habits, new beliefs, they all create new pathways. You're not pretending, you're rewiring. Instead of replaying memories that broke you, replay the identity you're becoming. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Let's try and ask, who am I becoming because of this? See, some of us spent years rehearsing pain. What if we spent years rehearsing confidence or success, peace, worthiness, self-respect? Because your brain doesn't become what happens. It becomes what you repeatedly practice. Now let's talk about becoming self-obsessed. I think everyone should have what I call self-obsessed affirmations. Not affirmations about being better than everyone else, but affirmations about becoming better than who you were yesterday. Like, I protect my peace. I'm the safest investment in my own life. I'm building a life that I don't need to escape from. See, when you become obsessed with becoming, everything else starts to adjust. Now let's get down to business. Lock into what pays you and what pours into you. The second lock is your purpose. Whether you're building a company, working a 9-to-5, painting, acting, training, pole dancing, content creation, I don't care what it is. Whatever your gift is, lock in. Become obsessed, master it. Not because you need validation, but because mastery changes how you see yourself. Imagine spending more time studying your craft than studying people who don't even know you exist. Imagine investing more hours into your future than scrolling on someone else's. That's the Great Lock-In. Become so committed to excellence that success has no option but to eventually recognize your consistency. I want you to lock into what pays you and what pours into you. Notice, I didn't only say what pays you, I also said what pours into you, because not everything valuable pays immediately. Sometimes your passion becomes your profession because you kept showing up long enough. Sometimes your business begins as your hobby. Sometimes your purpose starts as something you do for free because it makes you feel alive. Pour into both, the things that's feeding your bank account and the thing that is feeding your soul. Let's get into part 3, relationships. The third lock might be the hardest lock because it is relationships. And I don't just mean dating. I mean friendships, family, co-workers, everyone. The great lock-in asks one question. Is this relationship pouring into me, or am I the only one pouring? Because attention is currency. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If you keep pouring into people who continually drain you, you're funding your own exhaustion. I like to call this the recycling fountain. I want you to imagine relationships like a fountain. Water flows out, but if it comes back, that's healthy energy, healthy love, and healthy friendships. But if your fountain only pours and never gets refilled, eventually it runs out. That is why the great lock-in requires evaluation. Not bitterness, revenge, or cutting everybody off. Simply asking, what is this producing in my life? Is it producing fruit, or is it producing fatigue? Sometimes people don't need to leave forever. Sometimes they simply need to just move to the back seat, because during your lock-in, the driver's seat belongs to your future. Everything else can wait. Not because you don't love people, but because you're finally loving yourself enough to stop neglecting yourself for everyone else. Since you made it this far, I need you to understand this. There is no unlocking the door, okay? I need you to get that in your head, because this is probably the most important part. Once this door closes, don't reopen it, because your old life is very patient. Your old habits will wait for you at that door, okay? Old environments wait, old fears wait, old friends wait, old versions of yourself are always hoping you'll come back. And sometimes the greatest act of self-love is refusing to revisit a version of yourself you've already outgrown. The great lock-in isn't about perfection. You'll still have bad days, you'll still make mistakes, and you'll still question yourself, but you will never question the direction you're walking in, and that's forward. So today wasn't about giving you every answer. Today was just simply introducing you to the great lock-in. Over the next 3 videos, we will be going much deeper. We will be talking about the psychology, the neuroscience, the spiritual discipline, and the practical habits. We will have one video dedicated entirely to self-love, one entirely to business, and another entirely to relationships, because each one deserves its own conversation. But until then, I want you to remember this. You only have one life, one mind, one body, and one future. Become your #1 fan and let everyone else compete for second place. This isn't another temporary motivational boost. This is the day that you stop unlocking the door, because the person you become inside the great lock-in will eventually create the life the old version of you wouldn't even recognize. So close the door, turn the key, and this time throw it away. Remember, darlings, in order to live a high-quality lifestyle, you have to embody high-quality essence. Smooches!